Watch out, nerds! Nyx Assassin is loose and he can't wait to sacrifice you to his goddess. Using the Veil of Invisibility, Nyx Assassin will stalk his prey and shatter them with a barrage of high damaging nukes. Is that a daggone 5 in your pocket, or are you just happy to see the history of Nyx Assassin? Nyx. Nyx Assassin is a powerful ganker who can pick off squishy intelligence heroes, while providing utility for his team through the use of stuns and mana burn. Impale is a simple spell that deals magic damage and stuns enemy units in a straight line. And that's it. The stun duration is a little above average, but other than that, it's pretty bare bones as far as skills go. Mana Burn is a single target nuke that burns the mana of an enemy hero based off a multiplier of their intelligence. They also take magic damage equal to the amount of mana burned. Again, there isn't much depth to this skill, but depth is for dweebs who like to study. And you know who takes the most damage from this ability? That's right, dweebs. So make sure you're beating them up and collect that sweet lunch money as a prize. Spiked Carapace makes Nyx Assassin extend spikes all over his body for a short duration. While this spell is active, Nyx Assassin will negate a single source of damage he takes from an enemy and reflect that damage right back at him. Additionally, enemies who damage Nyx in this time will also be stunned. The Carapace will only affect enemies a single time when he casts the spell, so be sure to save it for a big damaging spell for maximum obnoxiousness. Vendetta is Nyx Assassin's ultimate ability. This allows him to become invisible for a long duration and provides him bonus movement speed while it's active. Breaking the invisibility by attacking an enemy will cause Nyx Assassin to deal massive physical damage. And as of 7.20, Vendetta will also apply the break status effect on its target for 4 seconds, rendering them vulnerable to all sorts of hijinks. It should be mentioned that if Nyx Assassin picks up an Aghanim Scepter, he will gain the sub-ability Burrow, letting you live out your fantasies of becoming a lurker. This burrows Nyx Assassin into the ground, where he can stay invisible and immobile indefinitely. And while he's underground, he gains bonus health regen, mana regen, and damage reduction from all sources. This also extends the range of both Impale and Mana Burn, allowing him to defend against the siege from afar. Spiked Carapace can also be used underground to instantly stun any enemy in a small radius around him. With this, Nyx can be a high damaging assassin in the early game, and transition into a high utility defense structure in the late game. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. Nyx Assassin scurried his way into Dota All-Stars in the earliest patches way back in February of 2004. He uses the model of anub'arak, a prominent crypt lord from the Warcraft universe, and carries the title of Nerubian Assassin, named after the race that the big bad beetle belongs to. Although a lot of us remember him as anub'arak, he was originally known by generic crypt lord names, such as Phoebus Ra, Nephrithos, and Memphis On, and it wasn't until 6.20 where he was officially named anub'arak. Wait a minute, Memphis On? Isn't that what you call your older Vietnamese brother living in Tennessee? His first couple of descriptions were of the basic variety, as is the case with most Gwynsu era heroes. The first one simply says ranged hero. Alright, Nerubian Assassin was ranged up until 4.1, where the updated blurb calls him a stealthy melee hero, adept at being sneaky and making swift, damaging strikes. His lore was actually fleshed out in 6.20, where Thu Mama S Rapida won a hero description contest to give the mana burning bug some personality. My mama may be Rapida, but you, sir, have a mean name. Anub'arak was once the greatest champion of the Nerubians, but he fell in the Second War of the Spider. The Lich King resurrected him, and Anub'arak promised his loyalty to him ever since. Those who witnessed him in battle never lived to tell the tale. It's probably because those scrubs don't carry sentries. It's most likely a coincidence, but this story is pretty similar to the one written for Lich. Both of these were updated in the 6.20 hero description contest. So did the authors of these two stories collaborate with each other? Or was 2005 just a hot year for undead resurrection? The world may never know. In a rare occasion for the original Dota, another hero's lore ties in directly with anub'arak, and that would be none other than Black Arachnia the Broodmother. Her lore explicitly states that she used to be the queen of the Nerubians, until she fell in love with anub'arak and was banished from her kingdom as a result. She now follows him in battle and gives birth to his children as a sign of her love. It's also a good time to mention the amazing voice responses from the hero. I think the Crypt Lord's lines are the best example of sound design for an RTS. They're short, over the top in their delivery, and you don't get sick of hearing them. Honestly, this voice acting gave a lot of life to the character, and you can sense the threatening tones from his voice lines.
Indubitably, my might cannot be matched. I'll consume the living and the dead. Kinky.
On occasion, you'll also find Nerubian Assassin's name to be anub'arak. This feels like such a playground insult that I can't help but feel bad for the guy. For most of Nerubian Assassin's lifetime, his abilities have been pretty consistent, but they've had some effects here and there added, removed, and outright changed. In his original set, Impale stayed more or less the same, with the stun duration going up to 4 seconds at the maximum level. Mana burn would burn a static amount instead of scaling with the enemy's intelligence. Spiked Carapace was actually his ultimate, and it was a passive ability that provided a percentage damage return to melee attackers and bonus armor. Vendetta was known as Windwalk, and was a basic ability, although it was just as strong as an ultimate judging from the numbers. In 5.61, Vendetta became his new ultimate, making this version the most similar to the Nyx Assassin of today. From here, we wouldn't see a major change to anub'arak until 6.63, where mana burn was reworked. The spell now burned mana based on the target's intelligence. This made intelligence heroes the most vulnerable, while heroes with low mana pools like Skeleton King were spared the painful sting of Nerub. In 6.67, Spiked Carapace was replaced with Urna Swarm. This summoned a scarab from a corpse which could be controlled to do anub'arak's bidding. The scarabs can't attack, but they can be used for vision, burrowed into the ground to hide, or blown up using a skill called Infestation, which silences and deals damage over 3 seconds. This skill originally belonged to Nerubian Weaver, but it was replaced by the Swarm in the same patch. With nowhere to go, Nerubian Assassin gave the little buggers a home in his fat ass. This skill helped him fill the role of an assassin more than Spiked Carapace did. When you think about it, is a passive armor buff really appropriate for an undead murder monster? With this spell, enemies had a much more difficult time escaping if the silence went off successfully, and the scarabs provided overall utility by acting as mobile wards. In 6.74, Urna Swarm was replaced by an updated version of Spiked Carapace that I mentioned earlier. Please remember the animated part, I just spent so much time on it. Notably, the active portion of the spell lasted 4.5 seconds, although you could only reflect a single instance of player-based damage, rather than once per enemy. anub'arak continued his legacy in Heroes of the Storm, where he adopts the title of the Traitor King. Unsurprisingly, he brings a lot of his spells from the Warcraft 3 days, in the form of Impale, which is a simple line stun, Hardened Carapace, which gives him a shield and spell armor, Burrow Charge, which acts as a gap closer, stun, and slow, and a passive called Scarab Host, which spawns a beetle every time he uses an ability. For his heroic ability, he has the choice between Locust Swarm, which causes damage per second in an area around you while also healing you, and Cocoon, which wraps an enemy in webs, disabling them for a long duration. Although he isn't as stealthy as the Nerubian Assassin, the Traitor King does like to whittle his enemies down while flaunting his durability in their faces. anub'arak's voice is definitely worth mentioning. I sang the praises of the original voice from Warcraft 3 because the lines were done so perfectly. That's why it's so disappointing to say that these new lines really went in the wrong direction. Whereas the Warcraft 3 voice was strong and demanding, this interpretation feels like it belongs to a cunning wizard type character instead.
Indubitably, my might cannot be matched. I'll consume the living and the dead. Kinky.
Heroes of Newerth had their own representation of Nyx Assassin in the form of Fade. What, you thought it might be Pestilence? Haha, nope. Gotta save him for the Slardar episode. Now, Fade has had a lot of different spells that changed over time, but at her core, Cull is an AoE mana burn, Burning Shadows is a line stun, Shadow Walk grants her protection from single target spells, and her ultimate, Reflection, is pretty identical to Vendetta, while also providing clear vision and dealing scaling damage to an enemy. Fade really manages to be a fun version of Nyx Assassin, providing the same function, while changing up the skills just enough to feel unique. Lastly, the closest thing League of Legends has to Nyx Assassin is Kha'Zix, a big freaky bug alien who's adept at stealth pickoffs. The only thing really similar between them is their appearance, but Kha'Zix's ultimate does allow him to go invisible and jump in for a quick gank. An honorable mention is the Guardian of the Sands Rammus skin, which looks a lot like anub'arak's little brother. No, Rammus, I don't care what Mom said, I'm not letting you play on the Xbox. The Nyx Assassin found his purpose for being in Dota 2 on July 26, 2012, which was around patch 6.74. This version of the chitinous hitman retained a lot of the same features as anub'arak, while managing to pull off a different look. Throughout his development, it looks like the plan from the beginning was to make Nyx Assassin have a metal armor look for his exoskeleton, even going far as having mechanical features. It also looks like there were plans to primarily make him a dingy green, but this likely would have camouflaged him a little too well in the terrain. A few weeks before his release, Nyx Assassin was teased in Disruptor splash art. You can see him in the upper right corner, waiting in the shadows for the right moment to strike. Of course, his original title had to be changed, as the Nerubian race belongs to the Warcraft universe. His name was also completely eliminated, and he simply goes by the title of Nyx Assassin, which thankfully at least keeps the same initials. His lore provides some insight into his seemingly arbitrary name. There is a race of insects known as zealot scarabs, a majority of which have simple minds and appendages meant for work, also known as the worker caste. The goddess known as Nyx gave birth to a special scarab, blessing him with a penetrating mind, dagger-like claws, and razor-sharp mandibles. A single scarab that will belong to the assassin caste. From this point on, the Nyx Assassin's goal in life is to kill in the name of his goddess. His dialogue reveals that his personality focuses around Nyx, praising her and muttering her name whenever he gets a chance. Rather than take on the gruff bravado of anub'arak, Nyx Assassin sounds more like a scheming trickster focused on the kill.
I have one purpose for being. For you, dear Nyx. For you. Nyx. Nyx, 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 Nyx.
Unfortunately, the romantic subplot with Broodmother has been dropped. There isn't any suggestion that these two are getting down and dirty, but they at least acknowledge each other in the fight.
Nyx Assassin, I have some of your cousins in my larder.
Broodmother.
A few cosmetic items reveal more about the Zealot Scarabs, as well as the assassin caste that our neurotic friend belongs to. The Sacred Orb Carapace states that Nyx grants one of her assassins the orb. This shows to us that there have been other assassins before this one, which explains why all of the sets look so different. Almost as if all of this hero's item sets could be the different assassins that the goddess Nyx gave birth to. However, there is a voice line where Nyx Assassin states, "Many are the soldiers, workers, and reproductives of my colony, but I am the fourth caste, the assassin caste, the caste of one," which means that only one assassin exists at a time. Scribbins the Scarab looks to be a member of the Zealot Scarabs. If this courier is any indication of the rest of his species, I will do everything in my power to protect all of these cute little guys. The pincers of the chosen larva tell us that the blades on Nyx Assassin aren't natural, as they are screwed into the tough chitin at the ends of his killing limbs. The Dagon item shows that Nyx can grant her assassins the power of magical burst damage, and the most appropriate spot for the item is the ass. It's honestly pretty cool that Dagon is part of Nyx Assassin's body. Lots of speculation and theories to be had there for sure, but I simply wanted to express my appreciation of the item. Finally, the Chitinous Stalker set confirms that the Zealot Scarabs practice the deadliest martial art of them all, Crab Battle. Over the years, Nyx Assassin would gain more utility and quality of life upgrades that would make him a terrifying unseen threat. In 6.75, Spiked Carapace can now reflect one damage instance from each player, rather than just the first damage done. This made him able to run into danger head first without worry, but its duration was reduced to 2.75 seconds to accommodate for the change. In 6.78, Mana Burn had its intelligence scaling changed, and the mana cost was reduced as a result. Although this means that his early game advantage wasn't as strong, he could still debilitate the enemies in lane. 6.84 granted Nyx Assassin his first Aghanim Scepter upgrade, the ability to burrow. Like I mentioned earlier, this gave Nyx a late game option that changed his gameplay style to a more high ground defender rather than a mobile assassin. In the end, I really like it. It's more inspired than making Vendetta deal more damage or something. It's definitely memorable, and more Ags upgrades should have this level of creativity, especially since talents have been introduced into the game. In 7.00, Nyx only gained talents, and they weren't anything too crazy. You could either go for a damage-focused build, or a tanky one. The extra 100% spiked carapace damage in particular could be cheesy if you stack it with a blade mail, for the potential to return 300% damage. It's even better if you reflect the damage from a coup de grace critical or Laguna Blade. In 7.07, Nyx's HP regen was increased to 4.75. This patch also gave daily bonus heroes a free mango when selected, so a Nyx Assassin could be downright unkillable in the laning phase due to sheer regeneration alone. His talents were also revamped, although the only real notable changes are in the level 25 talents. The extra 100 agility is insane, as both a source of physical damage when breaking out of Vendetta, or to increase the damage of Ethereal Blade. Pretty good all-around pick, especially compared with the left side talent, which provides unobstructed pathing during Vendetta. It's very lackluster, and at this stage in the game, I would hope for a much more game-changing upgrade. Instead, he can climb up on hills and, be a ward, I guess? In 7.20, Vendetta now applies Break on a target for 4 seconds, especially useful for counterpicking heroes like Bristleback or Phantom Assassin, without going through the trouble of buying Silver Edge. Or hey, maybe you do want to buy one. Show those passive stacking jerkbags that their kind ain't welcome, and to never take the name of Nyx in vain. Nyx Assassin is a bug in every sense of the word. He's an annoying pest who can bring you to your downfall if you're not careful. Also, he's literally a giant bug. If there's one thing I can suggest you do while playing Nyx Assassin, wear some earplugs, eat some Smuckers, and use his ultimate. That way, you can have Def Jam Vendetta. I'm Dennis the Tall, and that was the history of Nyx Assassin. If you liked what I had to offer, you can thank my patrons for voting for this episode. Very special thank you to Mini Mushroom. You're a fun guy, and your pledge is amazing. I hope you have good vibes and opportunities coming your way. Here's Sea Fox, alongside his favorite hero, Disruptor. Can you guys see Fox enjoying his pledge? I sure can. Finally, call me Fluffy in the form of a smug Shiba and a cat. Thanks for the contribution. I hope to call you a happy customer. Last time I asked, what's your favorite beverage to drink while playing Dota? And here are some good ones. Aaron Sanchez just likes water so he can get rid of his teammates' saltiness. Yamero likes other heroes because he plays Lion to suck them dry. And MadHanArt98 likes Monkey King Please. Ha, that's a weird drink name. We don't got that in America. And that's a wrap on another episode. Follow me on the usual stuff. Twitter, Patreon, stare at all these old videos, like pictures of my cat, and most importantly, have a good one.